mud eats my ankle as I brace the loss on a frayed sandbag. The light is wrong, thick yellow under the ash, the kind that bleaches faces and shows every line of fear. Oil smoke rolls past like slow sea. The Vox on Bren's back hisses a steady toothache. Sergeant's mouth works around a prayer without sound. I lick a split lip, taste rust, count charge packs again because counting feels like holding. An hour drags or 10 times smears like grease when the flares go up again and wash the smoke pale. We wait for an order, any order, and my tongue remembers water. Bren shifts his weight and the Vox whispers a man crying 3 trenches over. A raw animal sound he doesn't know is on the channel. I press my shoulder deeper into the parapet and line the sight on the gap where the wire bows, and someone always tests it. They taught us to breathe in 4s, inhale, hold, squeeze, follow through, like the catechism of a slow machine. It works if I stay on the rails of the drill. I slide one gloved finger along the stock where I scratched Mother's initial in a moment of stupid. It's half vanished now under grime. The loss smells faintly sweet from the last patch of coolant I spilled into the venting. The leather on the butt is cracked. It fits the notch of me anyway. "Keep your heads," Sergeant says without turning. He has that tone, a pebble dropped down a deep well. Farg, 3 men down, rips another rag from his sleeve to wrap a bayonet handle where the last one split and took his thumb skin with it. He does it neat, full of care like it matters. That does something to my chest. We have 7 packs among the 4 of us and 1 is unreliable. I've marked it with a nick where it overheated and spat back. 7 feels like a number that can't carry a day but has to. The barrel of Bren's sidearm digs into my shin where we huddle and he doesn't notice. He's listening into the noise, head tilted like the words have a color he can smell. Above, the big guns cough without pattern. Far ones, ours near ones, theirs. The near ones come with a hissy edge I can't place, like cutting meat. Each thump rides down into the trench lining and up my spine. The world is a drum and my bones the skin. Think we'll get the relief today? Farg asks nobody. He says relief like stew. Think you should shut your sainted hole, Alphen says, and he cleans his lenses with a corner of his sleeve that's been a corner forever. If I tried, I'd smear a month of someone else's blood into both eyes. His hands don't shake anymore. They did the first rain. Maybe mine don't either. Hard to tell under the weight of it all. Wind turns. We pick up the rot of the no-man earth, meat, hot metal, opened chemicals. Somebody let a promethium can go near the wire 2 nights ago and it bubbled black for hours, matted with little bones. The field rats came up and sat on their haunches as if warming cold paws at a hearth. We shot a few. Others learned faster than we did. We play a game. It is not my turn to die. I play it hard. I try not to picture the face of the chaplain who said the same thing with different words and smiled. I picture stew instead, and wires coiled neat, and the taste of a green apple from childhood that I might have made up from a market stall I was too poor to buy. Then I picture the trouble that comes when you let your mind go where the orders don't. Up, Sergeant says when the hissing changes because he knows the storm's lip. We stand into the boards like the trench has trained us to fit. My sight draws a circle through ash and finds a notch of helmet that doesn't belong to us, and I squeeze before the thought shuts. The light snaps the air. The heat smells like the inside of your mouth when you've breathed through cloth too long. A shape collapses into more shape. The scream comes a beat later, muffled under a mask. I hit again and again because motion demands it. The drill keeps the barrel down and steady. Red light and fog looks like ribboned fruit, and then the thing we call their heavy chews the forward parapet 6 bays down, spit-sawing sandbags into slurry. Men's legs kick and then stop. Farg's cheek is open. He doesn't know it yet. Alphen hums when he fires. He's been doing that since the factory at Spindle Row. Same 3 short notes. He told me once he didn't like the sound his lass makes alone, like it was whistling to itself. Now I stop hearing the hum, and that means the battery just cycled dry and he's slapping for another. I think of water again and hate the thinking. I run my tongue around my mouth to see if I'm bleeding and discover nothing but tin. Bren lifts the aerial higher, hand over hand. Static eats his knuckles raw through the glove. Command, this is 9-3 knot. Line is intact. We hold the ditch, awaiting tasker. He pauses. His mouth is around the word like hurt. He awaiting orders. Noise answers, ghost words, a laugh or a scream. A singing like children at drill far away and through a pipe. Is it cut? I ask. It's crowded, Bren says. His eyebrows climb toward his helmet rim like the words inside the machine are touching his hair. Everyone speaking at once is all. Tell them we are still here, Sergeant says as if that is holy. He chips a prayer into the packed soil with his boot knife. Little lines and dashes, a game of knots, each one a breath. Anything crawls our duct, you teach it law. Law is point, press, burn. We do. Burn and burn. All the color in the world is washed in wrong light. The sky drags the ground as a mouth that won't close. The trench inches rightward from recoil, and I have to reset my feet every 50 breaths or I'll dig a hole where I stand. We rise, we lower, we reload, and the barrels glow and smell of hot sugar. Farg laughs once, surprised by it like he found a coin. It turns into a cough that paints the inside of his mask dark. At some point, someone remembers the mortars. They cough close behind, and the shells drop heavy and blind into the band of earth in front. One hits too short and sends a fan of dirt down into our hair and helmets. A hand lands on the duckboard, and the ring shows a small, carved heart. That shuts Farg up. It opens something in me that must not open. I shut it with the sound of the next round. The wind drops, sound flattens. There is that second where all the moving parts align and your heart has no excuse. Then the big guns start again, ours first, a rhythm like boots in a long haul. I glimpse through smoke one of our tanks 2 fields back, on a low black beetle grinding across all the wrong lumps. 12 men ride it like fishermen on a slate sea. One waves a rag that might have been white once. The tank keeps going, slow and sure. It does not look at us because tanks do not look. Listen, Bren says, and peels back one muff to press the vox cone near my cheek. Through the knit rasp of static, I hear a woman calm and clipped as if this were nothing but a ledger. Her words come in blocks, not to us. Gridline Hudson through Nell consolidate. Collapsing the stitch. Repeat, relay to downstream holders, collapse the stitch. Fresh count of viable forwards requested. Then a man interrupts with stammered swear and fear about a flank blown open. Another voice cuts him with cold. Noted. Burn behind you. Repeat, if you cannot walk, you are ash. Bren watches my face, and as if I am to tell him that does not mean what it means. Shut it down, Sergeant says, calm as a pond. They'll put their work in order and then see us clean. We hold that hour. It might be 2. Time sticks where mud sticks. It pulls at the boots of it and laughs. My pack straps have carved a sore that rhymes with my heartbeat. I do the drill of making myself smaller. I am a lens. I am a beat. There's a number of breaths between shots that will keep a hand steady. I find it and lay inside it like a tight bed. Between volleys, I pull Farg's cheek skin together and press an auger stub across it, a sloppy glue of ration chew. He sits still, grinning because to cry is more work. His teeth are full of grit so that grin looks Nashville, a dog's. I do not tell him. We are past telling. Bren drops an elbow, sudden. The aerial dips. He looks up at the sky. I follow without thinking. There is a long, low ship up there, an armored rib with scars dragging a line of fire behind like a loose banner. It is not heading toward us. It is heading toward the big ships we half see some days like stones at the bottom of water. This one is trailing flame like a bridle. It does not fall. It goes, and I can hear it even at this distance, a hummed chord so deep my teeth itch. It is a sound that means some decision has happened elsewhere. Command, Bren tries again. 9-3 knot. We hold. We are low on charge. Medicae is... He stops. We do not have Medicae. The last one burned with her kit when a shell shook the closet she used. The smell of boiled bandages is still in that earth, sweeter than stew and wronger. Medicae is negative, Bren says, as if a word could fill her shape. Maybe it is then the rain starts. It is not water. It is gray grease from a refinery that burned last week or a world ago. It sheets off the walls and makes the notch where we kneel treacherous. I taste it like I taste pennies. I think of a child once licking a rail in winter to see frost cling. That was a story from someone else. I fold it away. My hands work. "Where's Velik?" Alphen asks abruptly, glancing back along the line with his whole head, because to lift just your eyes is how a hawk looks and draws bullets. "Here," Sergeant says from a crouch beside us. He must have been 5 paces away, and yet he is here now. He has a way of being where the thing breaks. He sets his boot to my boot and steadies the lay of the loss. If they push again, you pick the knees, not the chest. Save cells. Relief will be here before that, Farg says with a brittle certainty that splinters as he says it. It isn't a question. He says it like a man says the sun will rise. He looks up as if the sky might nod. It does not. It changes instead. The color leaches. There is a sound, new and wrong, like someone dragging chain under thin ice. The air hardens, turns to a jar you cannot open. Sergeant's head comes up. The hair along my wrists lifts under the gloves. Bren clutches the Vox like it is his child. "There," he begins. The first shell takes the 3rd bay down. It is ours. I know because of the voice that rides a fraction of a second ahead of it. A thin whistle through the radio lanes, a slotting of numbers and a clean tone that means the mathematics we live by are about to carve us down. The shell does not ask us if we are enemy. It asks only if it is time. It is. Sandbags fly like wet loaves, burst in spray seed. Men fly too, but they fail to get distance. The air smacks and every bone in my body says down. I obey. Sergeant drags me by the harness by reflex, the way you pull a child back from a road. The world goes white and then beige and then red at the edges. We eat earth. Teeth scream. My ears go distant. The second shell brackets us short and long. Sergeant's boot leaves my boot and is a moving thing on its own for a fraction. When I sit up, half of Bren's pack is on fire and he is not attached right. His shoulder is turned the wrong way and he is making a getting-born sound. I slap at the fire and slap again and burn my own palms where my glove is split and can't feel it because somebody else's buried thigh presses on my knee like a cat. Friendly. A Farg yells to the sky as if he can shame it. He shakes a fist with no baton in it and the knuckles are peeled. Alphen looks at me sideways from a mask half cracked through. His eyes are simple as bread. "Our guns," he says as if he has to teach me farm words. Bren sucks air in ragged knots. I peel the pack off him and the straps shed little red like a butcher's floor. The Vox gurgles soft. I bring the cone to my ear because doing that is easier than thinking. Voices, orders like doors shutting. Consolidate, a man insists, patient like a clerk. Denial begins on interval. Copy positive that sector is cleared of green. Another voice, those 3 beats of calm. A woman. Cleared. All forward elements extracted or confirmed spent. Burn from hilt to cross, burn deep, spent. Word like a coin fallen into a grate. I look at Sergeant. He looks back. In his expression does not move. His eyes, though, I will never not know them. He says very level, down. We go down. The third shell cuts off the trench wall as if a giant hinged razor had been built for digging men out of grooves. It brings the old bones with it, the ones that had been sleeping under our boards, the little joints, the rotted belts. They tumble like fish in a net. I do not know how long I am not a body. When I return, I am 2 hands and a mouth full of metal. I spit, but the mud is everywhere. Someone screams a word that is not a word. Someone else wails in a language from far away, a long road home words never took. We are abandoned. The thought is not a sentence yet. It is a blind animal that sits in my lap and will not leave. It is wet and too heavy and smells of iron. On me, Sergeant says from far and near at once, and he is on his knees and one leg is wrong from the knee down at points where none of us ever have. He does not look at it. Bren, give me the coil. Bren has stopped making the birth sound and started doing the small pant of a dog hurt deep. He offers the coil like a kid offers a toy to a father he is disappointed. His hand shakes in a strict rhythm. I will dream that rhythm always, not dream. I correct myself, there is no place past this. I will breathe with that rhythm until I stop. Sergeant takes the coil and wraps it with method around his forearm, seats the aerial, unrolls the wire as if tying a boot. He dials down the channel with his mouth hard. Friend, he says when the tone catches. Friend, you are burning 9-3 knot. His voice does not plead, it instructs. Confirm hold. Confirm live men in the ditch. I confirm you will shift right 4 degrees long one. Silence. Then, sector hilt to cross is black. That same unbothered woman. All friendlies removed. Repeat. Denial fire ongoing. Do not re-enter the black. We never left, Sergeant says. Static answers as if the line itself has turned away. He sits for a full beat. Then he closes his eyes and shoves the aerial into the muck until the little light dies. He hands the coil back to Bren with neatness. We move, he says. Now. To where? It is not a question, he answers. He points away from the burn, down and left toward the culvert that opened 2 days ago when the factory wall slumped and water found a drunk new way. It takes a second to see the sign. The way the smoke cuts faster in that gully, the way the debris runs thinner. That's his art. He sees the earth like a game board and we are his bits. And the hand that moves us is not his, but he sets the squares. We drag Bren. Farg takes the left of the litter we fashioned from 2 broken firing stakes and a stained tarp. I take right. Alphen walks backwards, gun up, humming again. His tune back through the crack in his mask. Sergeant lopes on his strange-legged hinge and never curses it. He is a machine whose parts have their own names. Our own guns creep their denial slow across our backs. They follow us like a sleepy shepherd with a club. Each blast is a thick hand. We move between those hands. I do not look up anymore. Looking up is for hope, down is for knowing if your boot will stick or drown. Bodies line our path, ours, theirs, and mixed. In the wash of the culvert water, they all become the same color. I do not count them. Counting is for things we might use, charges, bandages, even the firmer bits of rations that have not fermented into sour paste. I think of stew anyway, and burn the thought where it stands. I feed the burner with little bits of self I think I can live without. I will be lighter. It might help. We slide into the culvert belly. It is loam and brick and the dark weeps down the walls like old tears. The space is tight. The pack straps catch. Bren mutters apology to every stone as if they are men he jostles in a crowd. Farg hisses once when his foot goes wrong and I feel him through the tarp like the twitch of a hooked thing. Alphen's humming echoes, it turns bigger than us, a soft chord that might have been a lullaby on a world with nightingales. We do not have those here, only crows with eyes like grease. The sound of the guns fades as the culvert swallows. In the absence, our breath grows enormous. In every beat of water is a drum. Rat shapes scuttle over our boots like snapgrass in wind. We hear them above. Our foes. The word fits too neat. They are just bodies that hate us by habit and law. Their boots are lighter than ours and their talk is fast. We stop without telling it. In the dark, we are the mud. Bren's chest hits the tarp slow. He has killed the sound in himself with a badge pin through his lip. I feel the wire of him singing under my grip. Their boots stop right over us. Light leaches in between the cracks like diluted milk. I close one eye and then open it again because the dark lives in there and throbs. Someone spits, it rattles down. It lands by my cheek with a wet note. It smells of boiled plants and metal. Good food then, wherever they come from. The thought is more dangerous than any blade. I shut that too. They move on. I peel my shoulders off the bricks. They have printed me with their back history. I do not scrape it off. New marks are a kind of coat. We come to where the culvert widens and the ceiling lowers. Alphen stoops and his back knocks shards down into Bren's hair. Bren tries not to flinch and can't. Culverts are all elbows. The water thickens, we step in cold that bites up into our calves. The taste of the air changes to old pipe. Something down here has been breathing longer than us. It breathes still, slow as frost. We go quiet, Sergeant says. He says it late on purpose so we don't get 9 extra beats to think. We go quiet, the culvert elbows right and opens into a cistern. Here the world breathes out a wet sigh. The light is a weak old man leaning in from a vent like a dream of a window. Under a matted web of wires droops from where a builder once had will. 2 floaters, things like lamps and jars, drift in the water belly up, their chemicals rainbowing the slick. A ladder slick with life climbs to air. The first rungs are broken into teeth. Farg grins at it and then at me, and then the grin trips on his face and he drops to his knee and brings up bile through his mask. It splats against the inside and he pats at it like a pet in error. His eyes roll the whites under glass. Bren makes a small noise that is apology and pain and fear and not wanting to die where he can't see the sky. I think I hate him just then for that simplicity. Then I love him like you love a brother who will not leave. Alphen sets his loss up at the mouth we came through, a neat angle, sight line to the bend. He hums quieter. Sergeant eyes the ladder and then the vents. His breathing is very measured. He has pain locked in a box below his ribs and he is sitting on the lid. He jerks his chin toward the vent. Scouts first, he says, and means me. He means me because I am smallest and my boots are softest and my fear is the right size to fit in a thin pipe. I hate him and love him too and pick up all of me in my hands and head for the metal. I go face first into the vent, elbows and arse wriggling like a rat. The skin on my ribs fuzzes off a little on a burr. The metal sings in sympathy with the guns far above. I crawl until my shoulders cry. The vent kinks and the air opens. I push the grill with my helmet and it gives. My head pops out into a shadow that is not our culverts. I breathe air that smells like old bread. My eyes water from the gift. It's an old kitchen above, half caved. Pots dented like helmets hang at stupid angles. Someone has scrawled a face on the wall with a nail, 2 eyes and a lined mouth and a little crown. The floor is broken through to gray light 2 rooms away. Through that crack I see outside, a run of alley hunched shapes moving at the far end, smoke low as breath. I slide back. The metal squeals, I freeze. The shapes freeze too. One tilts its head like a dog hearing the word for meat. I do not breathe. I make myself a line, not a man. I look at the face on the wall and ask it with my eyes for quiet. It does nothing because it is a face and scratches. They move on. I pour myself back through the vent and drop into our pit with a splash that is loud in my own skull. Way through, I say. "Take him," Sergeant says, and he does not ask if I am strong enough. He knows the song of his men, Farg and I take Bren's poles again and haul him near vertical. He bites that lippin until blood leaks around it, and he shakes his head just once to make it his choice too, not only ours. Alphen shoulders his weapon and the coil. He looks like a dog under 3 sacks. We feed Bren through the vent by inches. The vent takes skin where it wants it. He goes with breathy invocations of states I do not understand, good boy words from villages that grew wheat before they were taken up for war. I add my own breath to his in a rough harmony. Sergeant watches our hands like a smith watches tongs. When Bren's shoulders clear, Alphen follows, his bulk stubborn and hard to shape in the thin metal. Then I go. Sergeant last. I do not ask how his leg will fit, and it fits because the world does not permit him to keep it otherwise. We drag across the kitchen. The pot with a split copper base rings once when Bren's boot kisses it. The sound hangs in the chemicals for a beat and then leaps from room to room like a flea. That is the way sound turns traitor out here. We freeze, then unfreeze you cannot forever. The alley is a wet throat. The day is nearer to night. The sky is a scab. We move like men who have broken into their own home now owned by someone else. Every step is treason. A flyer paws at the cloud above, distant and sure of its road. It goes away. I realize I had stopped, listening for it to waver. I begin again. Our area map in my head is burnt edges and blank. Relief are words I do not let into the house. And the part of the city our ditch protected had a name once that we used to say before rotating in, spitting to rebuke it. Hound's Gate or Hunter's Rise. Names do not hold. The place is a cluster of slagged shapes and half-houses. In every window that still has a half-pane, there is a little piece of us, a face-shaped absence. We find a hand-painted arrow slashed on a wall pointing toward where supply used to run. A band of white around a lamppost says sanctuary, and we laugh without sound. Sanctuary burned last week with its own whispers. Still, hands make signs with or without sense. We follow because signs are what our minds hold on to cross rivers. The guns behind flare up again with neat intervals. Denial crawls still, they burn the stitch. The phrase sits like a stone in water where thoughts bump their heads. We cut corners. We stop and listen. We drink nothing because everything wet shouts disease. Our canteens are warm and thin. Farg's hands shake in little fits. He looks like he might roll into a ball if I turn away, so I do not. I keep him in the corner of my sight because that is one way to keep a man alive, to fix him into your picture. If he walks out of the frame, he might truly have gone. Alphen's hum changes. The 3-note loop acquires a 4th note that does not fit. I bite my lip not to tell him the tune is his rope. He needs to hold it or die. We cross a skeleton of a playground. Hanging ropes sway like intestines. A seesaw is stuck with one end tipped to the ground and the other pointing at God. God does not look back. I watch that seesaw and my heart invents children to sit at level again. And I do not see their faces because it would break a piece of me I need to save for a bolt. Then a boy does walk out from behind the shell of the hab block with a white flag made from a sheet. He is very small, or distance makes him small. His feet are bare. He wears what used to be a blue shirt. He has something in his other hand that glints. I have one breath to make a choice. And then the world chooses for me. Alphen barks one burst and the blue shirt jerks and the flag drops. The glint becomes a knife as it flips into the mud. The boy folds soft as if sinking into long grass. Alphen lowers his barrel. He doesn't hum for 3 full beats. Then it starts again, brittle and loud. We pass. Bren's eyes are open wide. Tears run hard and clean through the grit on his cheeks. He counts silently, lips moving. He is doing the prayer for after, and he is not allowed that yet, so I lean down as if to check his straps and whisper, "Not yours." He nods minutely, his breath making little clouds inside the mask. We come to the edge of a plaza that used to be a market. Market signs hang broken and say nothing. The fountain in the middle is a lump of slag that still holds the shape of a leaping fish in two places where the metal didn't run half a jaw curve of spine. We all stop, caught by it. That is not wise. Sergeant lets us have the beat anyway. Then he points with his head. Through, and then the real thing comes to collect us. We have been lucky, or not interesting, or low enough. Luck is a sloppy word, it has blood in it. Now the opposite happens. A squad in glassy masks rounds the corner into the square from the north and stops the way deer stop when they encounter a man-shaped tree. I count their shoulders without counting. 8. One with a stack of pipes across his back like home guttering who must be their shoot-thrower, he coils like a cat. Their guns are bulbous and I do not know the caliber, and it doesn't matter. I squeeze. Alphen does. Farg cannot because he is under Bren and the weight in his arms has become the only true weight left in the world. Light and heat, 2 drop. Their masks throw blood on the inside. The rest do what trained men do. The wrong thing to someone else. The air around us becomes a cage of bits. One hits me high on the left shoulder and drives me down to a knee. Warm fluid spills under my sleeve. I know at once it is not mine because mine is slower. Alphen turns to lay down smoke and gets a bead where a lung used to be. He sucks like a baby at a dry teat and kneels with majesty. His hum goes quiet and the world is less. Sergeant moves like a bad hinge that works because it must. He snaps up a Pavis board from some dead man's kit we do not own and sets it like a door. The rounds thud into it like rain into a tent. He speaks small and mean and clear. Crawl. We crawl. Farg drags and I push. Bren's face is the wrong color under the grit. I see the pinned lip tear. It seems fitting. The fish fountain watches with half a face. The shoot thrower launches. The shell blossoms black where we were. Stone becomes wet sand. My mouth fills with grit and rage and a laugh that is no man's. I keep pushing because moving is honest. Sergeant leans around the board and lets off 3 careful shots. 3 careful answers come. One finds his sleeve and ties it to the board with a new hole. He rips free and leaves cloth. He does not grunt. Yet he has used all his grunts already. Then the sky tears in a different language. Our denial shells leap the market like angry gods at play. The arc is wrong, they weren't meant for here yet. The mathematics drawn by men with clear hands and polished boots. But the guns are like weather now. The ground lifts its shoulders. The shoot thrower and his pipes go up in a mess of tin. The rest scatter because fear is not sworn to any flag. That is our door. We take it. We duck into a lane that smells like maggots and cardamom. The walls hum as if a hive is inside them. We don't mind. Sergeant turns left and then left again and then ducks us into the low black mouth of a butcher's back. Hooks still sway bare, their ends shiny from capacity. We crouch behind a stone cutting board older than any of us and listen to footsteps slide past like raintails. Farg's lungs jump under my arm like fish in a net. Bren goes very quiet, his breath psts like gas from a soft leak. It is almost evening now. The light goes copper, then iron. A flyer speaks above, then stops. Our guns behind continue the denial crawl, but far enough away that the edges of the sound do not scrape the soul as hard. The butcher's place offers an old cask. Inside is a smell like apples that might once have been real. We tilt it and catch 3 mouthfuls of rainwater and rot. We share. It goes hot into the belly and makes it moan. Our bodies remember hunger with sudden politeness, as if to say, "Thank you for mentioning me." We aim for cross, Sergeant says. His voice is smaller than it was. His leg is swelling and the boot will not come off easy later. There is a bridge, or was. If the span is there, we go. If it is glass, We don't then either. If it is water, we swim. You can't swim it, I say. I don't know if it's true. The word water has rules and I respect them. We float our guns and die on the far bank, he says simply. Better to die where the math is different. Bren coughs a laugh. That isn't math, he says around blood. It's all numbers. We were balanced out. Sergeant looks at him. The look is not unkind. Yes, he says. And now we are not. We move again. The city closes around, a hand around a bird too slow now to lift. We hear songs in the distance, real ones with drums made from buckets and hands. They are victory songs or mourning songs and sound the same from here. We do not sing. Alphen would have hummed the counterpoint, but he is not with us now. Only his lamp remains and its faint red. I do not pick it up, and it belongs to the square. We cross where a wall is painted with a line of saints. Someone has carved horns into their hair and given them new names. The paint flakes like old scabs as we brush past. Farg touches his cereal plates as if that were the same as kissing a saint's foot. His hands remember a chapel a world ago. His mouth is a straight line. At the edge of cross, the world stops trying to be a city and admits it is a factory complex whose skeleton runs under all of it. The bridge is a span of plates and cables over a channel that was once water and is now a slow syrup moving under a skin. The span is there, whole but bent. Black shapes move along it fast. Fighters like us or not like, hard to see through the smoke. The far bank is lit like a prayer with tracer and torch. And it is not mine. We crouch in a nest of pipes and watch the patterns. A light sweeps and pauses like the lid of a sleeping eye. There is a count between the sweeps, 15 seconds in, 30 out. I discover I can love a number, 15, 30, 15, 30. There is a chorus of big things. The denial shells still working their way across the sector and the flatter bark of the enemy's lighter guns and the human sounds inside those walls. Our heads make a plan without us. On 30, Sergeant says. We nod. This is the point where men in stories make confessions and find extra bullets. We have none. We have one cell I do not trust. Two I do. Farg has a bayonet still gummy with his own blood. Bren has his pain and the will to make it mean something, and Sergeant has a leg made of decision. I want to be the man who turns to say something right. Instead, I say, Alphen would hate this bridge. It is foolish. It is true. It is enough. On the sweep's far end we go. We move from pipe to pipe, from shadow to stanchion. The bridge's deck under us is covered in a fine layer of ash that puffs like breath. It records us. I do not like to see our passage after we have made it. I scuff a line with my boot as if that could confuse the track. It cannot. Something overhead screams lazy lines into the smoke. None find us. I do not thank anyone. Thanking is for luck I do not want to owe. Halfway, the deck dips. The plates here have warped in a heat that licked them like a tongue. We step in it and our boots squeal. Bren's weight pulls me left and I fight for it with hands that no longer obey as cleanly as they did this morning or 100 years ago. The light sweeps near. Farg whispers a word that might be mother or saint or sorry. The word falls through the slots in the plate and down into the syrup like a coin. I wish it back. We make the hump. Then a figure stands ahead, not 10 paces, gun up, his shape hard against the flame from the far bank. He wears a hat. This stupid detail bores into me a hat, like a shopman. He speaks. I do not know the language. The music of it is tight. He shifts his barrel up a quarter, down a quarter, like it is a tilt measure. He wants to sort us. I could help him. Yes, sort us as alive, let us through. And I cannot give him the gesture in time that would mean we are not the thing his hat tells him to shoot. Sergeant steps. His body covers ours as if he is a door. He says one word we all understand. Move. He doesn't fire. He puts his shoulder down and walks at the man with the hat. The man thinks about it too long because it is wrong, because men do not step into guns. He hesitates. Sergeant hits his barrel with the butt and shoves it left out into the night. The man with the hat slips on the ash and one foot slides under the bent lip of plate and he yowls like a trapped thing. Farg and I duck through the gap the act makes. Bren's pole catches. I push and hate the sound it makes and push again, and we pass the man with his mad hat and his angry noise. The next light sweep catches us full and the bridge becomes a painting. We are etched in it. The composition is simple. 4 figures and one lying and a 5th caught with a foot and a hat. We are interesting. Guns answer interest with law. I am hit in the right flank this time, a hot kiss that finds a space between plates. My body sours, my breath skips. Farg shrieks an honest shriek and does not apologize for it. He stumbles and we are a knot, legs and poles. Bren slides. I catch a handful of tarp and elbow and my shoulder lights with clean white pain. I do not think of water now. I think of nothing and so can finally move. We do not run. Running is an even rhythm that draws shots. We scuttle and stop, scuttle and stop. The deck drops again and we slide through ash that coats our tongues through our filters, and at the last stanchion, where the bridge meets the far stone, something white and enormous hits the foot of the span. In it is one of our shells. It should not be here yet. The math is wrong. Or perhaps the math now includes us and the answer is still black. The span spits plates like teeth. The world breathes in, waits, then lets go. The deck folds at the hinge where I kneel, and I am suddenly kneeling on a steep slope toward a mouth of boiling syrup. Farg loses his hold on the poles and Bren skids, mouth open in a long O, the pin in his lip drawing a neat line like an ink drop. I go with him because my gloves are slick with other men. Sergeant makes a sound I never want to hear from anything human and throws his weight on the poles like they are reins. It holds a beat. 2. The ash gives us back some of us. We jolt. Bren stops sliding. He hangs with half his weight on the world and half into the syrup steam, in which stinks of cooked oil and salt and a sweetness that I hate more than anything for making my belly answer. His eyes roll with white. They look for something to lock to. My hands find his shoulders and then his belt. Farg is a statue whose guts have been replaced by wire. He holds and holds. From behind us, shapes come into the ruin that was the far foot of the bridge. I do not look. I imagine hats. I imagine all the men we have become to them. Enemy, meat, box to tick. Sergeant says nothing. He is weight and breath and a sound like cloth tearing somewhere we cannot fix. We haul Bren up like a net with a big fish at last. He flops onto the dipped plate and laughs before he sobs. Then he is himself again in the only way that counts. He obeys. He gets his one good foot under and he pushes where the poles say push. We do not go to the ground at the far bank. There is no ground, only a pile of broken edge. We claw into it like foxes. Hands tug at us from above, fingers without gloves, nails broken and dirty. They speak our language in the accent of people who have eaten today. They pull like men hauling a boat. They smell like different soap. I could weep from that difference. I do not. I give Bren up. I let him go into hands that know knots he doesn't, and then I go because someone slaps my helmet, and then Farg is below me and coughing blood and laughing again, and then Sergeant is last, as is his law. His boot catches on a strip of twisted iron. His lame leg fails him. He does not swear. He does not ask. He tosses the poles up to the hands, and they catch and do not drop them because they are not fools. He looks at me, and in that look is the open edge of the world. He has a phrase in his mouth, the one where he says, "You, up," and means it will take my bones if I refuse. He does not say it, he says on, as in keep. A new shell speaks nearer than the last. The edge of the bank loosens like rotten tooth. The men with the different soap haul three things. Bren like a sack, Farg like a child, me like a tool. One hand reaches for Sergeant and catches his wrist. The angle is wrong. The weight changes. The mouth of the syrup belches a hot wave of sweet rot. Sergeant looks at me and the blank thing in his eyes has undone its lock. It is not safety. It is a door. He says, go, we must. The world makes it so. We roll spine over shoulder over knee into the broken cuts of the far bank as the plates of the bridge shear away. The sound is long and awful. It is a pulling apart sound, cloth and bone. The syrup swallows the plates and steams wider. The men with the different soap pant and say saints and do not cross themselves because their saints are not mine. They drag us under a cap of concrete with rebar like ribs. The air is tight and tastes of chalk and copper. I say, Sergeant, because I am not a machine. The men with soap look away. The bridge hisses, something thuds once. It is not him, it is a plate. I know it and still my body cannot unlearn hope. It will take a saw to cut it out. They take us into a tunnel. The light behind is not light anymore. It is glow and memory. Bren's mouth is working. He is counting again. Farg is trying to get up because he owes someone something and doesn't know how to make them take it. The men shove him kindly with their boots back down. One offers me a tin cap with a mouthful of water. I drink. It is real. My throat forgets how and then remembers. The tin bumps my teeth in a rhythm that will never leave. We lie there and breathe like cogs. The men around us talk fast and light. They aren't from our company, they aren't from any coin I know. They ask us words they think we have. Unit, command, route. We look at them blank. We were 9-3 knot, but that number sank. We were under Valek, but he is an unmarked place. I press my palm to my flank and pull it away red-black. The hole is not clean. No hole is. It oozes with intent. I press a packet of clotting gel into it. It wriggles and stings, alive and faithful and small. It does what it can with a situation it did not choose. I think, brother? One of the men with the different soap kneels by my head and says, you came from Hilt? I nod. The word is easy to agree to. He whistles a little breath. He looks toward another older whose beard is a tidy stubble. They burned Hilt, he says to him like a newsboy. The older man shakes his head as if to clear it of bees. Of course they did, he says. His voice has a ragged kindness to it. He studies us. And you three came out of their mathematics wrong. Good. He touches Bren's face with a hand that knows sick children. You'll go to ground with us when we move. He tilts his head at me. You stand? I stand because he asked. I stand by, leaning against the rebar ribs and pretending they are my father's hand at market, large and patient. The tunnel's damp kisses my temples. I move my shoulder and the grab of pain is bright. I do it again because sometimes you have to rehearse a hurt to convince it you are not its instrument. Names, the man with the kindness asks. I open my mouth. Farg says his first quickly like a gift he has been waiting to give. Bren tries, but his mouth fills with a cough that he swallows and makes a shrug. I say my name. It hangs in the tunnel for a second like a prayer you send up and wait to see if it has weight. The man repeats it. He nods. I am Patter, he says, and I do not know if that is a job or a father. He has a sash with small marks burned into it in neat rows for the first time today. I want to read something and cannot. We will shift when the sweep is clean. Eat. He produces a twist of meal. It looks like a fist of paper. It is wrapped in old prayer sheets, and the letters brush my palm. My mouth floods with a want like an animal. I spread for the others. Farg shakes his head, then takes a lick like a child does something to prove he won't. Bren stares and cannot bring his hands to do it. His eyes ask me not to think him weak. I tip a bit onto my fingers and press it into the side of his mask where a seam has torn. He sucks like a baby, shameless. I smile with one tooth because the others hurt. Command left you, Pater says in a tone that is not a question and not a scold. My head twitches toward him. He sees it. They left many. He rubs his thumb along one of the burnt lines on his sash. We count 2. I pick at a flake of ash stuck to my gauntlet. The thing in my lap that is my abandoning sits still and heavy. It has eyes, and it will not be fed by talk. We move when the sweep goes slow on the far bank and the denial shells crawl away towards someone else's black. The men with the soap tie knots in a rope and we hold them like children at a river. We go in a snake through the tunnel's slow turns. The walls have been signed by many hands. I touch none of it. My hand has done its signing today already in other ink. Finally, the tunnel belly opens into a level we do not own. There is a door with bolts like spines. It opens. A woman lets us in with a gun across her chest and eyes you could rest your head against if you had a better life. She doesn't lower the gun. Pater nods to her and her mouth flicks for a second into pain that is not undone by his nod. We go inside. The ceiling is low and made of panels peeled from something that once had a name, and the floor is clean in a way that tells me someone kneels each day with brush and will. There are cups. There's a pile of blankets that smell of mold and sweat and sleep. There is a board with the names of days scratched on it, and a little peg moved along under the wrong one. There is a big pan of soup. Soup. It is stringy and gray and slick with oils I do not ask to name. It is stew, the word that walked beside me all day like a dog. My hands reach for a cup and Pater's woman slaps them with the wooden handle of a spoon and then moves the cup closer to me. Because there is a rule I do not know about how you ask. We drink. Farg makes a sound low and ugly and genuine. Bren sips carefully and a line of it trails out of the tear in his mask and down his chin, and he does not waste it. He turns his head and licks it from his own skin, and I watch his mouth like an idiot. I take another sip to shut me up. After the second cup, the world softens at the edges. The ragged trumpet of pain in my side steps a little farther away. I feel the place where Sergeant's hand left my harness. It warms like a remembering brand. I look down and realize I am still gripping the rag of tarpaulin like it is a child. I ease my hand open finger by finger. The tarp drops with a flat sound. Someone brings me needle and twine and a shot in the thigh that makes distance between me and my body. A pleasant, polite guest space. I do not dream because sleeping is dangerous when the math of the day is unfinished. I rest my head against a crate and watch a droplet fuss at the lip of a pipe. Pater sits beside it cross-legged, carving a bit of something with a blunt knife. He glances at me. The bridge, he says as if it were a weather correction. You crossed on denials eating. I nod. He nods back like it is arithmetic. Many don't. He puts the carved thing, whatever it is, into his pocket and draws a circle on the board under the day. We mark, he says. So the wall knows the difference. Farg sleeps on his back, mouth open, a string of spit from the mask to his lips stretching and catching the light. Bren hums something quiet, not Alfin's tune. His eyes are half shut and raw. One flies open now and then and looks for an enemy in the low roof. Finds timber and closes, he's counting in sleep. I can see his lips. I could try to put words on what it is to be taken out of the number. The words would be simple, the weight would be wrong. The thing in my lap, my abandoning, still sits and breathes. Its breath now aligns with mine. When we make a new rhythm. Pater's woman comes with a pan of water and a rag and wipes my face like a mother. She does not do it with pity. She does it like brushing a gun. Clean the ash. Respect the tool. Her hands are rough. She finds the scratch of the letter on my stock and her finger rests there a second. She looks at me and I realize my mouth has made the shape of that letter more times today than any prayer. Hold, she says, and I hear it in the other way. The way you mean when you are at the edge of a fall, I hold. Somewhere far, the denial slows. Another bank begins to burn, then stops. The air tunnels shift. Here, the room breathes steady. There is a list on the wall of who sleeps when and who stands watch when and who carries the shell boxes if God wills there be shell boxes again. And we are on the sleeping line, but nobody says the word to us. We will not go to that line until we drop where we are and are carried. That is a kindness they have learned. Pity is expensive. I unbuckle my pack. The straps have chewed my collarbones open. There is a small brown paper packet in the bottom I did not know I still had. It has 3 sugared beans in it from a festival day back home that I might be making up. I roll one in my fingers until sugar prints on my glove, and then I tuck it into the seam by the hole in my flank. If any good thing is interested in bargains, it can find me there, Bren whispers. Sergeant? In a child's voice. Pater's woman, who has a name I don't yet know, tilts her head and hums 3 notes that are not Alphans either. They sound like a promise to keep the counting honest. I watch the door, and the wood breathes with the room. The bolt slides from time to time as heat changes the fit. Each little sound is a fingertip on my nerve. I count between the drops from the pipe, 5, then 9, then 3, bad at patterns, as if it too were trying to live by chance. We are alive. It is a sentence in the present tense only. My rifle leans against the wall with its stock catching a line of light from a seam in the panel like an eye not fully shut. I could sleep. I do not yet. My hands are a problem. They twitch like engines cooling they want a task. I give them one. I unwrap the lathe of cloth around the bad charge cell and look at the nick I carved to mark it wrong. I can fix the contact if I shave the char back, give it clean metal. My knife is thick and stupid, and it will take time. I set to it, slow and steady, but so I don't dream his hand letting go. The sound the bridge made. Under the blades of my knife, powder scatters to the floor like dry snow. The room smells of soup and rust. The bolt in the door breathes, the pipe drips. In the side of my sight, Bren's breathing finally evens. Farg turns and the spit string breaks and glistens on his jaw. Pater's woman moves like someone who could run and doesn't have to. The charge face cleans to fresh silver. I lift it to the light and blow grit from the seam. The edge catches just enough to nick my thumb and taste salt. I slide the cell into its bed. The gun's light winks once, small and stubborn, and holds. I do not smile. I wrap the stock tape back around until the letter reappears under my thumb. I lay the gun across my knees because my body asks for it the way a baby asks for a blanket. I lean my head back against the crate and feel the splinter press the same spot it pressed 10 minutes ago. And for a second my mind is a flat plate and cool. The burning thing in my belly breathes with me. It is not gone. It does not forget. It is mine now. I count one more number for myself, a selfish thing, and then I let the pipes drip be my metronome. I let the room make a country around me just wide enough for this breath and then the next. The bolt sighs as the wood shrinks another hair. A metal-on-wood whisper like someone telling a secret right up against my ear. My thumb finds the carved letter. It rests there. It is not a prayer. It is a mark. It is what I have left,